like a village, yeah? And then a river just washes over it, over, and then it dries, everything dries. And then you kind of sweep it out.
Yeah.
Sweep it out, and then you start to see all the things come back. That's pretty much how I work.
Keep Walking is your first solo show here in Seoul.
Yeah.
And it's not your first time showing to the Korean audience, but what we put together is like a good comprehensive overview of your work over
I
the
think
past
so.
couple of years.
Yeah, from walking through it, it does feel like a good comprehensive overview.
And walking becomes the metaphor. The show on the whole kind of becomes like a journey that we kind of choreographed together.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes.
So we'll keep walking?
Yes.
We'll start walking?
Here we're starting with this massive work. It's a monumental piece. And the funny thing here is that so this work was shown in different forms over the past few years, I would say. You first exhibited at the Long Museum in Shanghai, where you hung it in a form where it sort of cascaded down from the ceiling as well. And then in Berlin later, you sort of put it together to floor installation, I'd say.
Yeah. Being a painter and always working on a stretcher bar, I started to think, well, what if I remove the stretcher bar? And what if I remove the wall? Because painters, we usually show our work
on the wall.
On the wall and on a stretcher bar. So this is just me taking away the physical armature of support for a painting. And by putting it on the floor with no armature, the architecture of the room, the support of the floor actually becomes the stretcher bar. And actually the person standing on it actually becomes part of the piece. And also, I want people to be kind of aware of the physicalness of what they're standing on, what they move on. And a philosophical, to be aware of power.
Oh, yes.
Who stands upon who. We always say, oh, we stand on the shoulders. Literally, we do. We stand on the shoulders of people that have come before us, other painters that have come before me.
When something is placed in a museum, that object, whether that be like a work of art or like a common everyday object, takes on the status of it being elevated to like a piece of art. But this work has that great equalizing effect, I think, because it's like it's also the first work that the visitors are going to see as soon as they come in, and they all kind of sort of share in this common experience. It's like a universal experience of like having to walk on this. And I'm kind of hoping that some visitors are going to be a little bit thwarted by the idea of having to walk on this painting as well, because that's something that they're not.
No, and to be perfectly honest with you, I would probably not want to walk on it. I would probably go around, or I would think it's a performance, and I never want to get involved in performances. And also in a lot of Asian countries, you take off your shoes to come inside. So what does that mean to walk on a piece of art in your shoes, which are outside, inside? So I think there could be a lot of interesting conversations.
In Berlin, this was the last work that we finished the show with, but here we're kind of sort of beginning with this work. What is the significance behind that, in your opinion, do you think?
Beginning or ending with it? In Berlin, it really had much more of a strong relationship with the video. And to be honest, the space lent itself to kind of this real verticality. By beginning it here, I think really more, it really does, because of the shape of the space, it really is taking on the history of painting. It's much more horizontal, which is landscape, and that's something I almost always work horizontally. So I think in some ways, I'm starting with the conversation of deconstructing painting, which is something I've always been interested, or deconstructing the architecture around the painting.
Like the structure of it.
The structure, the actual physical structure that supports the painting, which is the grid.
The grid.
It's the grid. It's always the grid, which is, I've never had a problem with the grid. Some artists really struggle with the idea of a grid supporting, but I never have. But I was curious to remove that structure and put in a social structure, which is more architectural. Speaking
of the grid, I was quite keen to show the end papers as the following body of the works, because those works really tackle, or they challenge the idea of the grid.
Playing with Agnes Martin in a way, playing with modernism, these kind of empty containers.
Yes.
But at the same time using materials that are socially loaded, so socially. So I'm always playing with this idea of modernism as being these kind of empty containers, these kind of internal spaces of the studio, and then these external social materials that come from lived experiences, lived histories. So you always have this hermetic history of modernism, and then you have these social histories that have to do with everything out in the world.
Oh, yes.
So it's always this back and forth for me. I think I'm both. I can be in the streets or
Doing
in the
your
sheets.
art, but yeah. Bed sheets are actually one of the first mediums that we actually made.
Yeah, these paintings, they started from painting bed sheets and putting them on the wall so that I could have a surface, and then really be doing these kind of serial repetitions of kind of, the material comes from such a particular place, the hair salon.
The hair salon, absolutely.
And you're burning it so it really has a relationship to the body and skin. Really, they feel like skins.
The funny thing about end papers, and I know someone has already like commented on this, but the idea is that they're meant to protect your hair from heat. But you kind of did the opposite by actually burning them.
Which is the worst thing you would ever want to see.
Yes, exactly. Like when you unrolled your hand and saw that the end papers turned brown.
Oh, that means the hair is going to fall off.
Oh, yeah.
It means you've made a real big mistake on the perm. I notice now the Koreans are starting to get perms again.
Oh, yes.
I see a lot of perms now.
It's now like very much in the trend.
I'm comfortable with two things existing at the same time. It's almost like a woman can have a baby and be a feminist. It's like, I'm very comfortable with a multiplicity of things going on at one time and not having to over-explain them. So for me, using kind of visual modernism in a way, but the material coming from a space out in the world, I enjoyed it.
In a way, you're kind of sort of playing with this idea of the grand narrative of modernism and also abstract paintings and all of that. But at the same time, you're also kind of tapping into those micro narratives.
Yeah.
Because end papers are very like personal to you, but also it's like quite specifically attained to that hairdressing culture as well.
Hairdressing culture, black hairdressing culture. I tend to go between the micro and the macro. I like to go the grand narratives or just like really up close. And so this whole work came out of that.
These end papers kind of become the point of return in your painting practice as well, because you sort of showed them again in Venice.
I did, yeah.
That was a bit of a shocking moment as well, because they came back, but they were like black, you know?
Yeah,
like
dark and moody.
Dark and moody, and the hues of like purples and all of that. And then years later, you kind of came back to them, but these are more akin to the really early end paper works.
Yes, they are.
Showed.
I wanted to return to just the end papers and the canvas. And what I question myself or ask myself, are these grids just graphic, painterly grids, or are they city markings of the way in which cars travel down roads? And I'm not sure. Maybe, I feel like they're deconstructed markings of the way in which traffic is controlled or the way people are controlled.
When you look around this room, you get these negative like spaces, and they don't necessarily connect.
No.
But I think you can kind of sort of see some form of like a horizontal sort of like continuity across the room as well.
I use them as interruptions to the surfaces that I was creating. So in that way, are they gaps? Because actually, if you look at them, there are end papers under there.
You painted on top of them.
I painted on top of them. So it's really this kind of interrupting one narrative with another narrative. if they were opposite, whereas I laid down the big graphic spaces first and then laid the material on top, I'm still kind of figuring out which is first, chicken or the egg. It's fine. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure it out. And this looks like microscopic.
Yes, that was some of the things that people really commented about these end papers as well. I was talking about this with one of my colleagues the other day. One of the universal experiences that most Korean students would have is like looking at onion cells under like microscope. And that's something that anyone would probably relate to.
I mean, if you look at the paintings with these markings on top with the sculpture, it probably could denote more of being markings on outside.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it kind of becomes the urban environment.
It becomes kind of an urban environment with density and whenever I see these burned papers, to me they're stand-ins for bodies. This is not an art material. This is a social material that's used on bodies. I never like to use the body. I like stand-ins for the body.
Speaking of presences,
bodies.
Should we head to the Pinocchio room?
Speaking of ghosts.
Ghosts, exactly. It's one of the relatively early installation that you've done as well.
True. It's true. You know what's interesting? I will revisit something over and over to figure it out. It's never exactly the same, but I'll revisit something.
When I was looking at this work, it was really difficult to find photos of it because it's so transient, It's very site-specific and also it's very ephemeral in some sense. And I think that goes really nicely with the context. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your thinking.
Well, really, the whole thing came out of an idea of censorship and thinking of these as redacted information. So a whole room of redacted information, but what's left is the edge.
Yeah.
And so for me, the edges between things became the most important. Here, I wanted the edges to vibrate and to be vulnerable. At other times, it really was just a redacted piece of information and very flat. I really wanted it to feel more vulnerable, as if it was coming apart. That the weight of silence was almost destroying it.
I think it was probably one of these sheets actually, when
Yeah, I
you
think
just
these were
first crumbled and just stuck it on the wall.
And I thought, oh, wait a minute, I like this. Let's and the way that the border disappears, and then it comes back, and they're not perfect. You do one at a time, and so the relationship between this one and this one becomes very immediate. And then this one and this one. My favorite way of working is cumulative and additive, subtract. But it always has to do with what came before and what's coming after. What would we call this? I'm going to call this the grand ballroom. That's what I'm going to call that. This is the grand ballroom. That's what it feels like.
One of the real changes about these globes is that they're not floating. They're being hung from the ceiling. There's a bit of the gravity,
which I like, and they're much more close to the viewer.
Oh yes.
Like the viewer can kind of walk around them. They don't have to do as much of looking up. This kind of that, which I've never done before. Oh look, I'm almost.
Yeah, I quite liked the idea of navigation.
Yeah.
That's quite present in this room, and also. As we were positioning these globes, you can kind of circumambulate around them.
Yeah.
But then it kind of sort of gives way to different viewpoints of the paintings as well.
The paintings and I think it has a very interesting conversation. The globes being different sizes, same globe, different sizes. Just we don't all experience our lives the same, nor is it fair, nor is it. We all don't have the same equity.
And the sizes all look different from your perspectives as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And which part you're going to see if you're looking here, or here, or up there,
I found these works really interesting as well because
Timetables, yeah.
timetables.
Yeah.
Because you get the city names,
Uh-huh.
but then these are like the distances that the people would have had to travel to get to from point A to B.
That's it, on the train tracks. That's what I found so interesting is that it had nothing to do with the times you were leaving. It simply said to go from point A to point B, you have to spend this amount of time on the train tracks. And then I also started to think about the construction of the North and the South of the United States, not of the West, East, but the North and the South in regards to Black Americans who mainly we came from the South. Then we had a great migration that lasted 30 or 40 years going from the South to the North, kind of escaping Jim Crow and civil unrest and Ku Klux Klans. And then I think about the stories of the people. There's all kinds of different migrations. Political, sexuality, finances. People migrate for many, many reasons. Women leaving very bad situations, abuse. So many creative Black people in the 50s migrated from the United States to Europe. All the writers, all the dancers, all the filmmakers, all of them.
Because those are like the generations after the Harlem Renaissance.
Absolutely. And many of the Harlem Renaissance.
Those really spread.
Yes.
Like
And mainly to
globally,
Europe.
actually, yeah, but mainly to Europe.
Yeah, and I would have done the same thing. In the 50s or the 40s in the United States, I would have gotten on something. It wasn't just racial, it was creative freedom.
Let's talk about this work briefly. It is on a very rare occasions when the color red appears in your paintings.
Very rare.
And you said you made this work with soul in mind as well.
I know that color plays a very different relationship in different cultures. I knew that red was super important, like it is super important. So how could I use it? And so to build up the surface with one color, and then all of the secondary colors were emerged because of the stain. There's no pink, it's just white paper that's put on at different times of wetness, which will create the second layer.
Do you bring your paintings outside?
Oh yes, all day. Well, my assistant does. I'm like, whoa. No, they can be quite heavy. Oh yes, all day. And then I take the hose.
Oh yes, and you wash them down and things like that.
When it starts to stain too much, and I get the hose. I have to wear big overalls with wet boots, and it's very messy. And hose, lots of water. It's like wet on wet. Everything is wet. Then you have to let this dry. You have to let it dry. And then if you want to go back in, that's dry on dry with a sander. So you can kind of I do both sometimes. Wet on wet, let it dry, then go back with the sander. Scary thing, what the sander can do is it can bring out the details that got lost in the flood.
Oh yes.
It's almost like, think of it this way, like a village, yeah? And then a river just washes over it, over, and then it dries, everything dries. And then you kind of sweep it out.
Yeah.
Sweep it out, and then you start to see all the things come back. That's pretty much how I work. It's like these floods that wet everything, and then I dry it out, and the sander is almost like an archaeological tool.
Yeah.
I can pop them out.
To kind of unearth what's,
yeah. I mean, because you can see all of those letters, those are just traces. I just peel everything off, and it's just a ghost.
Speaking of more ghosts.
Yeah, lots of ghosts. There's actually a little figure here.
William Dorsey Swan, quite a life he had.
He had such an amazing life for where he started from as this, he was enslaved. He was an African American, he was enslaved, he worked for a family. Eventually he got his freedom, which is amazing. And really was the earliest, or probably one of the first, if not the first, what we would call a drag queen. And the drag queen, the term actually came from that the gowns would drag on the floor. And he created this safe space for people And he started having balls. But this idea of creating a space where they felt lovely, where they felt that they could be their true self. And his brother, I believe, was a tailor.
Yeah.
And so they were working together, which is kind of amazing, to create these spaces for people to have these balls. This room, although the lyrics come from a contemporary song about a legendary drag queen, you know, Katrina, I almost went back and associated the song with Dorsey. Like, here comes a whole new thing you haven't seen before. And I think in some ways I might have also, I think I took on Dorsey thinking about I'm bringing my soul to Seoul. Like, here comes the hurricane. I'm sure that I took it on myself a little bit. But the one thing I have noticed, this looks like a watermark.
Like where the tide would have hit or something like.
When I was in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, I saw a lot of those watermarks. And then when the water would recede, it would be this watermark, just like that in the homes. And in some ways, the backgrounds feel like a hurricane.
It does.
They do. They feel like a hurricane.
We sort of talked about how they could represent like the swirls of the wind.
Yeah.
But also like the muddy waters that kind of come after the flood as well.
I think they feel exactly like that.
It's almost like Dorsey was quite a force of nature, actually. That really.
Yes, he was. That's what I feel. And then I started to build the paintings. Some of them had the words, the whole words in them. And then I started just to use the refrain. And that became a call and response. It became this kind of second language, almost like some other language. It's language, but it's almost like some distant language or something.
Yes.
Some made-up language.
Yeah. Like onomatopoeias get the meaning across.
Yes.
You know exactly what they're trying to say, but when you actually write it down, it doesn't really make much sense.
Ah, ra, da, 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 da. It's like, what? Also with Dorsey, he was behind each one of these, but he slowly disappeared. Like, he slowly disappeared. He's still there. You can see his silhouette, but he kind of, I feel like he became a poltergeist.
Oh, that's
He became like a you know.
He moves around the paintings.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think I feel like his energy is the room. Each one of them is actually being kind of like just like a fabulous frock that he was wearing, or that somebody could wear. Like, this could be a ballroom, and these could be beautiful frocks. Because each one is different.
Coincidentally, we placed that one in the center.
And that's the most fabulous one.
Oh, yes. And the title of that work is Pink Satin Mother Hubbard.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I did give them some, that's interesting. I was trying to remember.
So it's like the dress.
Yes, the grand gesture.
Yeah.
I hardly ever work in such a vertical shape, so you really do feel the body. You feel like this is a body, or a body, a body, a body, a body, a body. It is like Dorsey's ballroom. This is like Dorsey's.
That you brought to Seoul.
Yes, that I brought to Seoul. Well, I hope he enjoys it. I hope he enjoys it, girl, wherever you are, honey. So when we're studying history, what are we really studying? We're studying the ghost and the remnants of what many powers have decided to let through. So this hand, 1,000 years from now, will just have this much of it, right? They'll unearth this much. And then the magic and the fantasy will build this, and they'll tell you that all this was, but all they have is this.
So from this, you get to imagine the whole.
And you have to use your creativity and your fantasy to build that.
But your work is very much like that, actually.
Yes.
I'm only
going to give you this, and then I want you to activate all of this. I'm not going to give you this. I don't even know where it all is, but I do know this little. It's like a detail that points to a larger idea.